What's going to be with Iran getting a nuclear weapon? Check out this clip over here with Mike Huckabee, the American ambassador to Israel. And he's talking about the Iran situation. He's talking about what's going on amongst different factions of MAGA, talking about America first versus isolationism versus all sorts of different issues and dynamics that are going on in this discussion. So we'll watch it together and then talk about it. But first, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Check this out.
Do you think it's possible to strike a deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran?
Well, I'm not sure that it would be, because for 46 years they've said the same thing. They wanted to kill Israel and annihilate it. Then they wanted to come and murder everybody in the United States. That's not a message they just came up with recently. They've said it for 46 years. They've said it without interruption. They say it every week. Israel is the appetizer. The U.S. is the entree. When I hear people in America say, no, we don't have anything to do with the whole Iranian-Israeli thing, that's no concern to us. Are they deaf, dumb, and blind? Are they not listening for 46 years to what the Ayatollahs have said? When somebody tells you over and over and over and over again they're going to kill you, it might be wise to pay attention to them and start believing them. And Iran has never said anything other than they want to get rid of the little Satan, then they want to come after the great Satan, which is the United States. So when people act like that isolationism is a legitimate doctrine of foreign policy, I would say to them, look, there's nobody more MAGA than me. In fact, to go back and listen to some of the things I said in my 2008 presidential campaign, I was MAGA before MAGA was cool. But here's the difference. Being America first shouldn't mean America only. We live in a very real world. Relationships that we have with other countries doesn't mean that we're going to fight their wars. It doesn't mean we're going to put our men and women in boots and send them to do their bidding. Israel has never, now a lot of Americans don't know this, they have never, not one time since the reconstitution in 1948, have they ever asked for or received American boots on the ground to fight their wars. They fight their own wars, and they do it pretty sacrificially. Every single 18-year-old male and female goes into the military, 3 years for the men, 2 years for the women. They serve in the reserves until their 40s. And even after their 40s, they may be recalled, as some of them have, back into the reserves, going into Gaza, going to the Lebanon border. Mm-hmm. These are people who defend themselves, and they've never asked us to fight their wars for them. So anyone who says that is either ignorant or they're not honest.
Okay, well, there's a question about whether or not Tucker Carlson is ignorant or not honest, because as I'm sure you saw, this is what he said yesterday on Twitter about Mark Levin. Mark Levin was at the White House today, this was a few days ago or yesterday, lobbying for war with Iran. Levin has no plans to fight in this or any war, but he's demanding that American troops do it. Blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on and on and on. What do you make of that?
I've known Tucker Carlson since he was an assistant editorial writer at the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, working for Paul Greenberg in 1991. I don't know where this is coming from. I know Mark Levin very well, and I have a great deal of confidence in him. And he has never, ever suggested that Americans go and fight Israel's war for them, or even fight their war with them, as if it means putting boots on the ground. But what he does understand is what I said a moment ago. The Iranian threat does not end at the borders of Israel. Even if they were able to annihilate Israel, they don't put the napkin to their mouth, put their fork down and say, we're done, we want no more. That's when they just are getting started. That was, as I say, the appetizer. And now they're ready for the entree. And the entree is the United States of America. You know, there were people back in the run-up to World War II that really thought that, you know, America had no role in getting involved in anything. Isolationism was really the prevailing wind. Pearl Harbor helped change that. And I think the virtual annihilation of Western civilization as we know it in Europe helped people to understand that you can sit it out only so long, but you're not just preserving Great Britain, France, or the Netherlands. You're preserving Western civilization upon which our culture is built. And if it falls and begins to continue falling, there comes a point at which it falls in your own backyard.
But you're basically saying in order to wake up to the threat, there needs to be some kind of mass casualty event a la Pearl Harbor or 9/11?
No, I don't. I think that we can be wiser than that. We shouldn't be caught off guard. We shouldn't be so naive about the threats that we face. I would love to see a diplomatic solution to the Iranian situation. That nothing would thrill me more. I think the president is pushing for that because he is really a president of peace. You know, his first 4 years as president, we didn't have any wars. We weren't fighting with anybody. He inherited a world that's on fire. I think he wants to put the fire out. And whether it's Russia, Ukraine, whether it's Gaza, whether it's Iran, he would like to put the fire out. So yeah, he's going to first and foremost send a negotiating team in all of these areas, as he has done to Gaza, as he has done to Russia, Ukraine, as he has done to Iran. And he's going to say, guys, let's not see millions of people or even hundreds of thousands of people killed. Let's find a way to bring peaceful solution. But the president is also not a forever patient person. And there will come a time at which he'll say, that's it. Let's keep in mind what he has said. And I always want to separate what he has said from what people have said he has said or what people think he believes. He has said repeatedly, Iran will never have a nuclear device. They must have a total dismantlement of their nuclear program. What they must do is end enrichment of all kinds. Those are his words. Those are his doctrines. I'm his ambassador here. My job is not to make the medicine. It's simply to dispense it. So he's the chemist. I'm the pharmacist. I listen. I open the bottle. I look at the medicine, and here's what it says. They're never going to have a nuclear device. They've got to dismantle what they have. They cannot have enrichment. That's what I'm dispensing.
There is an increasingly vocal and powerful part of the MAGA coalition that doesn't simply believe that there shouldn't be a strike on Iran by Israel and doesn't simply put out propaganda like that American troops would be involved in such a strike. But they say more than that, that Iran should be allowed to enrich some uranium in a deal. Tucker Carlson is making that case actively. He seems to have the ear of Donald Trump and certainly of the vice president. So there is a war going on inside the MAGA coalition, it seems to me, for the soul of its foreign policy. Yes or no? Do you agree that that battle is underway?
I don't necessarily agree with that. And I'll tell you why. Because also we have Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, who is as strong as a field of California garlic when it comes to our policies in the Middle East and the rest of the world. Pete Hegseth, who is a strong a believer in and a person who understands the delicate balance that exists, that if Israel falls, it's not the only domino that's going down. So there are many people in this administration that I believe represent a very balanced America first, but not necessarily an America only policy that recognizes that smart foreign policy doesn't get into every war, doesn't try to change every government, doesn't try to Americanize a country like Iraq or Afghanistan, which is never going to happen, doesn't try to nation build and go in and rebuild every other nation before we rebuild our own. Those are tenets of the America First movement that I absolutely wholeheartedly think the president is absolutely right about and why he was elected twice. So I don't buy into the idea that he somehow lost his mojo when it comes to dealing with Israel and Iran. I think he would love to see peace. He's going to do everything he can to bring it about. But I also think that there is a limit to his patience. And he himself has said, you know, we're not going to negotiate this forever. And Iran's got to come to some understanding. And if they don't, he was asked on Air Force One on his way to the Pope's funeral, would Israel drag America into a war? I thought his answer was pretty blunt. He said, nobody's going to drag us into anything. But the point is, if there comes a real threat that could impact America, we won't be dragged into something. We will lead something. And I thought that was as clear can get.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about what President Trump actually believes when it comes to Israel, when it comes to Iran, because he has been pushing quite a bit for an Iran deal. And a lot of people are getting nervous about that, because not that they want to have a war with Iran, but if as President Trump has said for the last 10 years, that the Obama deal with Iran, the Iran deal, was so bad and it was like the worst deal that had ever been made, well, don't just, throw it to the trash heap and then take it out and flatten it out and make it nice again and add like another one or two provisions and then put your stamp on it and call it the Trump deal and tout it as the best thing that's ever happened. I think people are concerned because, okay, if you didn't think the Iran deal was a good thing, don't just give us 2.0 version of that. And so nobody wants war. The Israelis don't want war. They don't want to drag the Americans into it. And I think President Trump's message, when he was asked by reporters, are you concerned that Prime Minister Netanyahu is going to drag you into war? And he said, well, I don't want to go to war, and no one's going to drag me into war. But if it's necessary, if we don't get a deal that is acceptable, then we're going to go to war willingly. It's going to be very willingly. It's not going to be dragged by anybody. And so my fervent hope is that there is no, God forbid, that there should be any sort of large scale terrorist attack like they were talking about on here, that people didn't wake up until Pearl Harbor or 9/11 to be outside the scope of the isolationist America only mentality. I hope that we can wake up before something terrible like that would happen. America is the greatest place in the world. It is the bastion of freedom. It is a light to the nations of the world. And we need to demonstrate that with peace through strength. And hopefully we can maintain peace by showing our strength and our willingness to do things if the time called for it. If you like this content overall, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Take care.